Hello. Hello, everyone. Um, I've been thinking about a couple things. One of the things I've been thinking about is something called nurturing contact or nourishing contact. And especially right now, it seems like there's a real need, especially right now, meaning in the last 200 years, or at least the last 50 years, that we all need nourishing contact. And, what does that mean to me? If I think about nourishing contact and nurturing contact, what is it that comes to my mind? I wanted to begin with this piece by Haven Trevino. And it says, health is not easy to keep, difficult to restore. Emotions move easily when they first arise, become pain when suppressed. To respond and release means less toil later. An armored heart is easily injured, and pursuing fantasy invites despair. A great life is composed of many details, so walk firmly, each step counts. A grand canyon began as a tiny cleft. A great master was born a small babe. Be happy in your place. Growth is inevitable. Your start and finish are the same. The journey to enlightenment begins where you are right now. One who controls will be out of control, and the competitive spirit is ever wanting. The sage does not lose control and maintains perfect balance. The sage does not control and maintains perfect balance. She, he, they do not grab for power, and so overflows with it. She, he, they do not grab for power, and so overflows with it. The only treasure the master seeks is a peaceful heart. Her, his, their only goal, to be fulfilled where they are. Her only doctrine, to allow. By returning to her origins, she brings us all forward. By returning to her origins, she brings us all forward. Haven Trevino. Haven Trevino. Health is easy to keep, but difficult to restore. And so I'm thinking about a couple of different things. I think about, when it comes to nurturing and nourishing, I think about our health, and I also think about these last couple of lines, these last two lines, by returning to her, their origins, her, his, their origins. We are all brought forward when we return to our origins. And so what are my origins? And do I know my origins? And if I don't know my origins, then I get to explore my origins. And if I am adopted, I always appreciate what Angela's talked about with those of us who are adopted. We're considered twice blessed. So we have the origins of that family, and then we also have the origins of our birth family. And so there are many ways for us to touch in on that. But we are all guided and assisted by those who came before. However, we find that touchstone or that base. So we can think about, what does nourishing contact mean for me, and how can I be nourishing? How can I give and receive nurturing and nourishment? And also, how can I do that for myself? And I think it's really interesting to think about, the word sage. And sage means a lot of things. One of the things that sage means is sage is something that is known to cleanse and to purify. But also, there's a lot of ways that we can cleanse and purify ourselves right now. And that is something that's really nurturing and nourishing to do, is to cleanse ourselves. And so we can cleanse ourselves with sage. We can cleanse ourselves with water. We can, cleanse ourselves by, some friends and I went to the river, and I love to go to the river, and there's so many good places to swim, And there's oftentimes people who are fishing, and then you have the children and families, and all by the river, uh, and they are in that process of nourishing contact. So perhaps they're with their family members, perhaps they're with their loved ones, perhaps they are by themselves in a canoe on the river, in a boat, or in a canoe or in a kayak, in contact and nurturing contact with the mystery of the river. And the river is quite a mystery. One of the rivers here in Idaho, Angeles used to take people down the river in order to teach them the Fourfold Way. And the Fourfold Way, for those of you who aren't familiar with her work, her seminal work, is the ability to show up and choose to be present. So, can I show up and choose to be present? And then also the ability to do in our lives what has deep heart and meaning, to be able to do in our lives what has deep heart and meaning, and then to be able to speak the truth without blame or judgment, the ability to speak the truth without blame or judgment. And then also the capacity to be open to the outcome and not attached to the outcome. So, those are really great tracking devices, and I've been working with them for a long time. And so she used to take people down the, I believe it was a Salmon River. Was it the Salmon River? I don't remember that, but I'm pretty sure it was the Salmon River here in Idaho, to teach them about the Fourfold Way. Take executive stand. And so I think that that's something that really, that nourishes us and that assists us, is that openness to learning and that ability to really track ourselves and track, what we're thinking and how we're feeling, and to be able to be nourished by the capacity to keep track of ourselves. How are we doing? So basically to have, some limits and some boundaries. I don't know if that's a good idea, but to have some limits and some boundaries with ourselves also. And so, how do I have that nourishing contact? Well, then I let go of things that are, draining, or that, really are not nurturing and not nourishing for my body, my mind, and my soul. So nourishing contact, I also think about nourishing conduct. Is my conduct nourishing to others? Is my presence a nurturing and nourishing presence for myself and for others? So when I think about what is nourishing and nurturing, I think about the birds. I think about there's these little thrushes that are outside. They're robin of the robin family. I think about the thrushes. I think about the grass at our feet, the earth, the soil in our hands, new green leaves. I think about the maple tree. Is all the leaves were spinning earlier in the wind, and it was so amazing. It was so amazing. And also taking the hand of a loved one is also nourishing contact. We can also touch through our voices, and we can touch through our hearts. And at this time where some of us are still more in quarantine than that, or more not in contact than we are, it's interesting to think about, how can I begin in my life to really touch what is meaningful? What is it that is most meaningful to me? How, who, where, what is meaningful to me? And how can I come in contact with what is most meaningful to me? And one of the things we can do is we can kind of write ourselves a little list of, well, these are the things that are most meaningful and that have the most meaning to me. And then we can make sure that we're experiencing those things, or expressing those things, or making room for those things in our lives, which really asks us to conduct ourselves in a direction that is fulfilling and meaningful to us. So to touch what is meaningful. So how can I have nourishing contact? Well, I can have nourishing conduct and nurturing conduct. And that's not always the easiest thing to do. So it's something interesting to think about. But one of the things we can also do is we can take healthy risks. What are some healthy risks that I can take around? And when we talk about vulnerability, we want to be vulnerable in places where the vulnerability is safe, and where we've created a field of safety and the other people have created a field of safety. But to go to the places where we really can be vulnerable. And that can really give us an invitation to have that nurturing and nourishing conduct. The other thing that is very nourishing is accessing the divinity, accessing the divine, accessing the beauty, the mystery, the sacred in nature, the mystery, the beauty, the sacred in ourselves, however we might choose to pray, however we might choose to reflect, however we might choose to connect with the mystery and be with the mystery and settle into that beautiful, beautiful mystery that's holding us and loving us, and asking that we share our voices and our hearts with each other and in the world. It's important that we're able to begin to look at, how can I, you know, in a very authentic way, share myself and my voice in a way where there's contact that is made. Because what we really need is we need to be able to make contact with ourselves and hold and care for ourselves, to have a meaningful and loving gesture towards ourselves, and to have really an internal sage. Is there, do we have that ability to make contact with the sage that is within? And the sage is, the wisdom keeper within us, and we all have a sage within us, or we all have a wise one within us. And when I think about the wisest one, uh, my stepfather, who raised me, taught me. He was half Cheyenne River Sioux and half German, and uh, he taught me something called mind walking, where you can go into the mind. Really, I don't know if it's called that, but you can go into the mind and you walk through the rooms of the mind and the chambers of the mind, and you can see what's happening in the mind. But I got to say, there's a lot going on in there, and I found that most of it was not that nourishing. So it really wasn't the center. It just didn't. I was just like, wow, this is definitely not the center of what's going on here. And so I just thought it was curious. And after many years of being able to, with a very clear container and love safety, to be able to really step into someone else's mind, to take my consciousness and to put it in the consciousness of another, and to see what was happening in that consciousness, or notice, or to use that as a healing, visionary healing tool. So when I was doing that, I was like, wow, I could spend 6 months in here, and they're dropping off laundry, doing they're dropping off kids for school, they're picking up kids from school, they are doing many things, and so I thought, well, I wonder what will happen if I go to the heart. And so I thought, oh, well, what I'll do is I'll just ask if I could take my consciousness with my next client. I'll ask if I could take my consciousness from the mind and down into the heart, and see if it would be a benefit or helpful in the same way that mind walking had been in my practice. And what I found, oh my God, you guys, it was amazing. What I found that in the heart lives the gesture of the soul. In the heart lives the destiny, the life dream, the purpose of the human being. And so, then I developed a process where one can take their consciousness and move their consciousness into the heart of another. But what we can also do that's so exciting is that we can take our own consciousness and bring our own consciousness into the heart. And so what happens if I bring my own consciousness into the heart? Well, then I have true nourishing and nurturing contact. And then the contact that I send out will be a form of welcoming and a form of hospitality. And so I would be curious to just be, over this time, to touch what is meaningful, to notice what it is that is most meaningful in life, and to even write a list of what is nurturing or nourishing, and to really practice that nurturing and nourishing conduct in your life by just doing a few things on that list each day or each week if you can, even if that's to go out and rub your feet on the earth, or to touch the bark of a tree, or to listen to the birds in the morning, or to watch the sunrise, or to sit with the sunset. I love that Rumi poem, the dawn and dusk have secrets to tell you. And my mentor used to say that poem a lot. I think it was one of her favorites, and one of my mentors did. And I loved it, and so there's, they have secrets to tell you. So, and that would be the time where the veil is thinnest, is the dawn and the dusk. It's a Rumi poem. And so you can also have that nurturing contact in the dusk, and then you can ask for what you truly want, as Rumi says, ask for what you truly want, which is very exciting. And so the voice, the heart, the world, the self. And so we all carry the world within us, and we all are a reflection of the world, and the world is a reflection of us. So we get to have a nurturing and nourishing contact within, and then we also get to see it reflected outside of ourselves. Next week, I'm going to be, East and West has asked me to do a talk and a workshop, an online workshop. So I will be doing that next week. So instead of my live talks, I'm going to be offering the workshop through East and West Bookshop, which is the support for Ananda, the Ananda organization. And they are really responsible for bringing something that is desperately needed and much needed, which is a form of meditation and settling into the body and mindfulness at this time. So I very much appreciate them, and I'm so grateful to Bima and to the team at East and West Bookshop for asking me to do this talk. The talk is going to be on accessing what is centering, grounding, and empowering, and on closure, comfort, and loss. Closure, comfort, and loss. And so you're welcome to sign up for that. And anyone who wants to take the workshop is more than welcome. We are really grateful to anyone who would like to access, and the access is open to everyone. So you can go to East and West Bookshop and look up the talk with Char Sundust if that interests you and you'd like to do that. You're welcome to do that. So I would like to close our time today. This is by the prolific Anonymous, of course. But it says, hold on in the darkness, though no gleam of light breaks through. Keep on dreaming dreams, although they never quite come true. Keep on keeping on, although it's a lonely road ahead. Keep on looking up toward the goal you have in view. Keep on at the task that Creator has given you to do. Keep on in the hope that there are better times in store, and keep on praying for the thing that you are waiting for. Blessings come to those who, in the turmoil of events, seek the goodness of the will of right action, providence. Hold to this and never doubt. Keep head and spirits high. You'll discover that the storm is only passing by. Seek love in the pity of another's woe, and the gentle relief of another's care. In the darkness of night and the winter's snow, in the naked and outcast, seek love there. In the naked and outcast, seek love there. So touch what is meaningful, nourishing contact, and may you risk your vision on the service of wisdom. Thank you. Hopefully I'll see you Thursday at the East and West Talk. I look forward to it.